Hi guys, so today is the video for Friday, January 21st. In class, we talked about audience and content, and we wrote in our writer's notebook. Hopefully, you guys have all done your reading of audience and context. So let's take a quick moment and go over the audience and context. So as we start to write our literacy narrative, I really want to get you guys thinking about audience. It's important to think about your audience whenever you write. We want to make sure that we know who we're writing for and kind of write for that specific audience. So as you can see, the audience descriptors, and it talks about geographical location, it talks about generational events, and neighborhood community. Up here you have a link to see Stephen Hale's diagram of audience descriptors. I hope you guys clicked on this and kind of read through why is choosing an audience important. We all have many ways of talking and writing. We can be formal or informal, concise or detailed, technical, specialized, or general. Writing a tweet or a Facebook comment is not going to be the same as writing your academic paper or what you might write for work at some point in your career. Normally, we choose a writing strategy based on who we think of as our reader. Knowing your audience before you write will make the process of writing easier because it simplifies the decisions you have to make. Okay? So, how does choosing an audience affect the purpose? If you don't have a particular intended audience in mind, or if you say that your essay is for everybody or society or people interested in this topic, your writing will tend to be as general as your intention. So your real purpose will be, or seem to be, turning in an assignment to the teacher. On the other hand, if you see yourself as addressing a real reader, you will have a much clearer understanding of your purpose and your reader will feel more evolved. So while the literacy narrative, yes, you're just writing to me, you're a teacher. The next paper will not be. We're going to come up with an audience and think about that audience, and that's who you'll be writing to. And then as we get into your research paper, again, you'll be picking an audience and writing to them. How does choosing an audience affect the style, support, tone, or vocabulary? So often you have to decide how formal or casual to make your essay. Knowing the intended audience then enables you to ask questions and make choices rather than following arbitrary rules. So you will have to decide how much and what kind of support to give for a point. So say, as an example, that you're a medical doctor and you are writing to me, an English teacher. So to prove your point and to support your point, you're going to have to give me a lot more detail because I am not on your level. I do not know any medical information. I know English information. So you're going to have to support with a lot more detailed and break it down for me as your audience so that I can understand what you're saying. So that goes into thinking about your audience and how much support you have to give for your point. How much details? How specific should my intended audience be? So the more specific your choices, the easier your argument will be. Generally, 3 to 4 demographic descriptors is a good place to start. So what does your audience believe? Although you may belong to the same general group as your intended readers, it's often a mistake to assume that your readers already agree with you or knows the material you're trying to convey. So if the readers agree totally with you, why do they need to read your statement? But if you assume that your readers are either uncommitted or leaning to the other side, then you will know from the start what and why to argue your point. So just always assume that your reader needs that information to make a good decision. So always give that descriptive full detail. So, what factors about my audience should I consider when writing? So, there's a fine line between relying on general patterns and stereotyping your audience. Think about the intersections between the various aspects of your audience identity. The chart below shows several factors that might influence a person's beliefs, attitudes, and identity. And then you have this to look over. And it kind of really, it's enlightening. So, make sure you check that out. So let's go back. Audience address and audience invoked. Whether you're picking birthday cards, writing a research paper, or making a commercial, you have someone in mind who is supposed to read your piece. Like I said, for the first one, it's me. After that, we'll discuss more audience and who you will decide on who you want to write to for your other ones. So here are some examples of possible audiences beyond your instructor. So this is good to get you thinking broader outside of our little classroom bubble. So an established academic in the field of study. That's great. And then it tells you the expectations. A school or community administrator in charge of local laws, rules, or changes. And then it gives you the, again, expectations. A recent college graduate seeking to prepare for the workforce or independent life. Expectations. Then it tells you about circulation. Also consider how the publication venues for these pieces might affect the audience. To reach the academic audience in a particular field, you would want to publish in an academic journal that was known in that field. Okay, so then we talk about context. Okay, writer, speaker, context, audience, the text, the speech. These are all important variables when thinking about writing. Context is a very important concept. In fact, one of the goals of foundation courses in the Ball State core curriculum is to become aware of the importance of context. But who does that really mean? To better define context, look at the example of a meme. Okay? We all know this meme. I know. So, do you understand this meme? What context information do you need to do so? Would someone from 2018 understand this meme? Would someone from another country understand this meme? These are the questions we're going to focus on during class and talk about, okay? Paying attention to context when reading. Context is incredibly important when writing, but it also is important when you are reading. When you start reading a source, you should pay attention to when and where it was written. Once, a famous composition scholar told the story about how new students are always saying to her, "Why didn't you include postmodern theories when you were writing about composition?" She said, "Because they didn't exist yet." When you are reading a source, you don't want to make that mistake. Be aware of when a source was written and what was known about the topic at the time. Right? Remember our story that we read the other day about the spider? Those clues need to be in your context. When, what, where. Cultural context is also important when reading. If you are reading a source that comes from a culture outside of your own, you may miss important details. So, for example, you wouldn't want to read a piece of literature and argue that white stands for purity when it is from Korea, where white is more likely to symbolize death. Okay? So paying attention to context when writing. Okay, we talked about this a little bit. This is more about audience, anyone or the general public. Think about the question, who do you want to read it? When you think about writing for context, think about the following, and it gives you some questions. Who specifically might read this? Who would I like to read it? Where would that audience read it? Online? In a print publication? How would they find your work? When would your audience read this? Is it something that is relevant today but might change tomorrow, or is it a long-standing issue? Like I said, for our literacy narrative, not real important, but it will be. And then it talks a little bit about writing for context activities. writing a letter asking your parents for something you need for college, find someone that you follow on multiple social media, perhaps a business or celebrity, take a document you have written for this class and select a page or two, play around with the formatting. How might you format it if it were submitted to a formal essay contest versus a blog or website, and explain why the changes that you made. Okay, so those are just things to get you thinking about writing for different audiences. So then we would write in our notebook. I think I put an example online for you guys. So just make sure you date it and continue writing on in your notebook. That is really it for Friday, January 21st, Monday, January 24th. We're going to watch a video about improving your writing and have a details discussion. So I hope to see everybody there. There is no reading for Monday, January 24th. And as you can see on our daily schedule, Wednesday, January 26th is a flex day. So on Monday, I probably will get some feedback from you guys about anything that has been confusing or that you want to focus more on, and do that on our flex day. Try to cover any material that you guys feel you need before the rough draft is due on Friday, January 28th, which make sure that you bring your laptop, because it will be a workshop day and we have to write in our notebook. Again, there is no reading due for all of next week, so yay. I wish I didn't have to read, guys. Okay, guys, I think that's it. Have a good weekend.